Hi everybody, it's Red. I am here with a new journal I just finished and I thought I'd show it to you. This one I'm calling the Red Book because it's red, and I used a lot of red fabrics and all in it. It has a hard cover and a pocket on the front from a pair of children's overalls, a vintage pair of overalls. There's a little plaque here. It says, "Your greatest creation is always going to be your life story." There's a bow, vintage button, and I put a couple of journaling cards in here. And then on the spine, there's some buttons and a couple of spots you can label. And then fabric back with a button on the back. And I am going to show you the journaling cards, and then I'm going to zoom out so I can show you the inside. This is just a plain red and white with plain on the back, and then the front one is the red and white with a cute little topper there, and then you've got a pocket on the back that's stitched on and a label, and I did them to a point so that they'll fit all the way down into the pocket. And then there's a closure here with a kind of a ribbon, and it's like that baker's twine but in a zigzag. Oh, sorry, I hit the camera there. And you see all the pretty fabric on the edges of the pages. Not all of the pages have fabric. It's kind of sporadic because it was really full as it was. And I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so we don't have trouble when I open. I stenciled the front just to add some interest, but you might want to glue something here, so I left it plain. And the buttons reinforce where the string goes through, and it's underneath the liner so that it won't come loose or anything. And the buttons are sewn through the cover. The first page is from Wizard of Oz. And there's Dorothy with the poppies, a little bit of vintage trim. And then you've got a tuck spot here, and I just used a piece of paper to mark it. But the tuck spot is made out of a page from a vintage children's reader, and it's a kind of a game reader. Like, it asks questions and then there's answers later in the book, and it's all poppies. It's so cute. So I've scanned that in, and it will be available in my Etsy shop too, with all the pages for that reader, the ones that are decorated anyway. There is vintage trim on this coffee dyed paper. And then there's a pocket made from a Tim Holtz journaling card. It's a double pocket, and I doubled the cards inside and just used a Tim Holtz number brad, so you could take it out if you wanted to. They're doubled. It's black on red on the first pocket, and then the second one is red on black. There's a coloring page here, and a piece of homemade paper, and it's got roses and rosemary from my garden and some lavender. And this is coffee dyed onion skin paper with a vintage trim from some vintage fabric. And I've stitched all these on. There's a stitched on pocket, poppies. And this is just a journaling card I had that I had printed out from Etsy. Then you've got a journaling spot here, a page for journaling here, coffee dyed music page, and I've added a little fabric tab with a vintage button. And you've got a cute little poppy page here from a vintage botanical book all about wildflowers. And then there is a pocket on the back, and it's a vintage seed packet. And then I made a little collage card to go in the seed packet. And it just slides up from underneath rather than from the top. There's some batik fabric stitched on here, and vintage little strawberry fabric. I fussy cut these poppies out, and this is an excerpt from a dictionary about poppies. And there's a pocket, and that awesome onion skin paper again, the homemade paper. And this is a repurposed envelope from a greeting card, Mary Engelbright. I just love her. And one of the inside pages from the primer book with the little poppies and everything. And I just backed it onto paper so you have something to use for mounting pictures or journaling or whatever you'd like to do there. I'm going to leave that out because it's a little hard to, oh, I got it. hard to do from standing position. All right, you've got a envelope here, and this one I just embossed and added a little saying there, and this is a fabric pocket. It's vintage fabric. Here is some, this is homespun fabric that I stitched on, and there's another poppy page. And this is an envelope that I just repurposed by doing a collage on it. And I stitched some sari silk on the top of this card and some vintage stamps. These are ration stamps from the military, just for interest and inspiration. It goes in from the top. This is a vintage recipe card. I thought it was really cute with the little guy there. I like the red. And I just clipped it over here with a red paper clip, but you could move it around if you wanted to or do something different. And that's that marbleized paper that I did. Here's a card that I put in here because I liked it. I thought it was cute. This is a seed packet from the Target Dollar Spot, and I just added the paper doll and some words, and you can journal on it and put a picture inside. It makes a nice frame for something. And that's a accounts receivable ledger page. I added a little poppy there. And stitched some fabric on here, and this is just spray dyed with India ink. And you've got a couple of pockets here. This is the offcuts from the coloring page I just used in the pockets. This is stamped with a rose from my garden, and I used kind of a pearlized paint. And some fabric again. And then in the middle you've got an envelope. So you can add something or journal in there, whatever you'd like to do, and it just tucks into the slit. This is a vintage die cut from probably the 30s in Germany, and you can just tuck underneath it. Vintage trim. There's the the stamped fabric paper again. Oh, having trouble with words today. You got a pocket here. Journaling page, some sari silk. There's the ledger paper with some vintage fabric. This is an envelope, and I attached it with a butterfly clip, and you can move it around if you want. I did line it and attach it to a different page if you like, or just put something in it. There's vintage fabric here on this dyed paper. And then you've got a pocket, the back of the pocket here, I divided it by splitting it through the signature. And this is all collaged here. And I left the window, I put paper in place of the window so you'd have a place to make a label or write or whatever you'd like to do. And then you have a journaling card inside. I just did a punch with a bird and left it plain so you could decide what you wanted to do there. You've got a tuck spot here with a really nice round glassine bag. And some dyed paper that I did, the pink. This is red-headed woodpeckers from a vintage bird book. It's really cute little girls. I like that paper, so I included that there in a journaling spot. And some homespun fabric. And then this is from a vintage sheet, and then some vintage fabric on the edge, and a flashcard, and some paper. This is a faux envelope. So I just made it look like an envelope by adding a flap where you could write inside. There's some stenciled paper, and on the inside you've got a tuck spot. Put a little poppy picture from another book I had down here. And the roses, you can open this up. This is a 40s greeting card. And then this is a print I reprinted from a cigarette card that I had with roses. Just made a little journaling card with a charm there for you, and some vintage lace, some vintage trim here. This is from a children's shirt. And then you've got just a tuck spot here. This gorgeous print is on vellum, and you can remove the tape if you'd like to and put something different there, just a little fabric tab here as an accent. There's some poppies. This is some of my coffee dyed paper with some polka dots. There's some vintage trim. This is from a vintage children's book as well. And I liked the poppies on the cover, so I printed it and then just fussy cut it out. And I actually scanned that one instead of my husband. I was really proud of myself. So there, you've got one that I scanned. And this is a tally card. And I thought that was so pretty. She's just so pretty. So I fussy cut her out and did a little inking on it and stuck it in here so you can decide what you'd like to do with it. And you've got a page with a pocket here so you can journal and write and add something to the pocket. Here's another pocket with a little tuck, and just put a paper tucked in there. It says 2, make today count, and then there's a Tim Holtz 2 down here too. And this sweet little girl, printed her from a card that I have, vintage card. And here's a little Blue Jay greeting card. And then on the back I did a little stencil. You got a vintage greeting card here to journal in. And this tape is glued down, so it should stay put. You've got a flip here with a pocket and a little journaling spot. This is a Bates bedspread from, I don't know, the 60s maybe. And then there's a tuck here with a piece of paper in it, just to remind you. And journaling spot. And then on the back you have the flap from the Mary Engelbreit envelope. And this is from a cupcake container that I had purchased. I purchased several of them and sent things out in them, and I had some left over. So I cut it out and made like a window, and you can tuck a picture or something in there that you'd like to highlight through the window. And that's it. And I have reinforced the string with the buttons again. And then the back is plain. So I hope you like the red book. I'm sorry I kind of rushed through it here, but we've had a storm and a dog barking her head off, and she's very unhappy about the storm. And so I just wanted to rush through so you'd get a chance to see everything before we had another calamity. But I do appreciate you checking back. I hope you'll take a look. She's going to be listed on Etsy as the red book. And I'm going to have those poppy pages listed too, and anything else I can think of. Thanks so much. Bye.